Welcome to the Cinematic Dogma podcast, your weekly place to just hearing about the most recent movies or movies that we want to just tell you about. I am Jose, and as every week, I'm joined by Blake.
And I am Blake, and I am ready to talk about what movies you should and shouldn't watch.
Yeah. Like, should watch and should not. We should generalize at some point about, like, all of these movies, don't watch them. They're not worthy. And not even just going in more depth. It's just creating a bucket of don't pay attention to that.
Well, I think we both love good cinema, but I think we both love to critique bad cinema more. It's so much fun to tear apart a bad film.
Yeah, no, that's true. Or enjoying it for the wrong reasons.
If it's so bad it's good, it's different.
I think that So Goes is more or less on time for a rewatch.
For me, it is The Last Holiday with Queen Latifah.
We should do a double session one of these days. Cool. So, what did we watch this time?
So, we decided to watch the newest Yorgos Lanthimos film called Kinds of Kindness, starring Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, William Dafoe, Hunter... What is Hunter's last name? I can't remember. One of the stars of Euphoria. And this film came out as kind of a surprise. It was shown at Cannes. But Yorgos, and I'm only going to say Yorgos moving forward, not because I know him, but because that's a long last name, just had a huge success at the end of 2023 with Poor Things. And so there was a lot of awards attention for that film, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, and there's another film coming out in June.
Well, the thing is, Poor Things, I think that it opened in Cannes last year.
Did it?
And at that time, I think so. And at that time, I think that I already sent you an article saying that is that, hey, it looks like Yorgos Lanthimos has another movie coming out. That's bizarre that he already recorded, or he's finishing recording with Emma Stone. This makes no sense. And before they release it in December, Poor Things, is that they already confirmed that hey, this movie comes next year. It comes 7 months from now.
So you're saying that Kinds of Kindness finished filming even before Poor Things came out?
No, I think that that it came out for the general public probably.
It
was probably in post-production. Yeah.
And you and I actually saw Poor Things together in Palm Springs.
Yeah, for the New Year's. Yeah, the 31st. I think that it was the last thing that we did before the year ended. Yeah, but yeah, for the record, I think that we watched a good amount of his films. We may have not recorded about all of them, but definitely we have watched it individually, most of them.
Yeah, I mean, The Favorite is one of your favorite films of the last few years. We both saw The Killing of a Sacred Deer. We both saw The Lobster. I fucking love that movie so much. And beyond that, we saw Alps, Dogtooth, and maybe that's it. But yeah, we've seen the vast majority of his feature-length films.
Yeah, so I was surprised that after such a break between The Favorite, that it was 2019, and then 4 years, it was 19?
IMDb says 2018.
Oh, 18, so 5 years until Poor Things, and then the next year, one more movie, and now he already announced that in 2025 there is going to be one more movie with Jesse Plemons.
Begonia.
So it's already there. Yeah. It's in pre-production. So at least this one, he hasn't started shooting it. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a very interesting director, and I was pretty curious to just see him going back, moving away from the tiny bit quote-unquote mainstream. I would say that The Favorite is more mainstream than, for example, The Lobster.
Yeah, I would agree.
Or Dogtooth, or Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Well, to be fair, Dogtooth was nominated for Best Picture in the Oscars. The Lobster, I can't remember if anyone was nominated. The Favorite got a ton of attention, but I think we can be certain that Kinds of Kindness will not get any Oscar attention. And not to say the Oscars are the standard of good movies, but talking about mainstream movies, it's kind of a good indicator of what people are watching.
Yeah. And I think that this is a bit more of a I don't know, like unapologetically Yorgos. I think that he was not too worried or preoccupied with doing something to appeal the masses, and it was something that he wanted to do. And I see already like work multiple times with William Dafoe and Emma Stone. Both of them were like, sure, we could do whatever. Just throw it our way and we will roll with it.
I agree with you, but I feel like Poor Things was also unapologetically Yorgos. It just happened to work better in terms of general appeal. Whereas
I would say, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that is that the same way the favorite, I still think that you can say that is this is Yorgos Lanthimos. There is no way around it. But I think that it's more about like the narrative that you have on those. It's like Poor Things is more direct, and even if it's in this kind of how do you say, like a Dali-esque world, completely surreal, everything with green screens and the likes, is still a bit of a more direct story than some of the stuff that we see here in Kind of Kindness.
I think it was very flattering of you because I would have said Tim Burton-esque for Poor Things.
True. But I was like just checking like the cover. I have it in front of me, and it's like, yeah, that was very Dali inspired.
So I want to comment on some of the things you said, but why don't you give an extremely brief synopsis about what Kinds of Kindness is about?
Yeah, and one preface to the for the audience. This movie is structured as 3 different stories. This is something that is like publicly available. This is not going to be a spoiler synopsis, and I'm not going to be like spending much time summarizing them, more than just a single sentence or 2 sentences per each one of them, and then we will just like discuss them from an artistic merit perspective without getting into spoilers, because this movie is like from a week ago, or whenever this podcast goes out. So as we were saying, like 3 stories, like the same actors but playing completely different roles. The first story, Jesse Plemons is basically being told by his boss what to do at every second of his day.
His
The
boss
is
and
William
lover.
Dafoe. Sure. Let's just leave like as a one sentence kind of thing. We don't have to just clarify everything.
You're right. Go ahead.
But it's like that's like the center of the story. Is like his boss is telling him like what to do about like at what time he has to wake up, when does he have to have sex with his wife, at what time does he go to the office, what does he do after the office, what does he do like random acts that he may need without like any kind of further explanation. And the tension is like the struggle of where do you draw the line on when you stop doing whatever your boss tells you to do. The second story, Jesse Plemons plays a policeman whose wife disappeared, and he's like just dealing with the aftermath, the emotional aftermath. He hasn't recovered. He's like going worse, and suddenly one day the wife comes back. The struggle here is more about like the paranoia of, is this my wife after all of this time, or is this a different person? Different, like, real person. And the third story is about a couple of members of cult, Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, that they are looking for a chosen person that it can work miracles. Like the struggle here a bit, besides like just trying to find like this person, is like from Emma Stone, as she actually left her husband and kid behind, and how she actually adapts to choose between like the cult and just like the life that she left behind. Everything, all of these stories are like through the prism, like pretty surreal, that we can find in Dogtooth or in The Lobster. That is that they are grounded in reality. The elements are from reality, from our reality, but they are remixed in a way that you have to apply a tiny bit of suspension of disbelief to buy the world or the premise that is presented in front of us.
So let me start with one question. Were you able to suspend disbelief for these 3 short films?
I could say that for the first and the third one, yes. I think that is easier for the third one. But for the second one, I didn't. And the funny thing is that theoretically would be like the easiest one of all of them. But there is something about it that I was like, no, this is just too weird.
So I think weird is a great way to describe Yorgos. I think probably our first introduction to him was Dogtooth in 2007, whatever. And he's had this interesting path as an artist, going from the films we've already mentioned, from The Alps, which you and I both didn't like, to The Lobster, which was a little bit more mainstream, to The Favorite. And there's this element of humor in all of his films. And kind of, even though it's surrealist and absurdist, there's been something human and fun in a way. Not like funny haha, but like, hey, this is a compelling story in each of his films that I honestly felt was completely lacking from Kinds of Kindness.
The problem... Well, we have to take this for what it is. It's a collection of sorts. Is that none of these stories, albeit like the whole runtime is 2 hours and 40 minutes, is that none of them actually crosses the 1 hour mark. And I think that they are like some sacrifices that they are being done for just getting to it. I had the feeling that he could have chosen one of them and developed a whole story.
I would have loved to have seen an expanded third film about the cult members. That was super compelling to me. Even though it left me a little bit dissatisfied, I was like, I would watch more of this.
Well, it's dissatisfied because there is not more development, but that one, for example, is pretty close to The Lobster.
How so?
Well, I think that is more like the elements that you are seeing. It's true that is in The Lobster is that they turn into an animal, if they don't find love, and there is this hotel and blah, blah, blah. But it's a bit more about like the human tension of what you want and what you need. In this case, it's more like what she thinks she needs and what she wants. So I think that is a bit of grounded in reality and a similar kind of a struggle to some extent, like betrayal of sorts, about like at some point I would draw my guard or maybe not.
I mean, not to get into any specific spoilers, but there does get to be kind of the supernatural element in the third film that kind of we see in The Lobster. So I can see the same themes and the same plot devices. Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, for example, like Dogtooth is extremely far-fetched. Extremely. But it's still
deeply
all of
grounded
the
in reality.
Correct. Yeah. It's like there is nothing like fantasy. In The Lobster, there is something that is fantasy. In Killing of the Sacred Deer, it plays more like with like, is there a fantasy part or not? It plays like with that, about like just building that tension. Here is that you can say that the first story has like a bit of fantasy to it, because it's like, how the heck can this guy like plan all of the day and all of the people involved with his day in that kind of manner. But the second one, it has fantasy for the sake of fantasy. So the second one is closer to the Killing of a Sacred Deer from a structural perspective.
So I read before I went to see this film that it was okay, right? But it was very funny. I was told it was very funny by Rotten Tomatoes. The only joke that made me laugh out loud came in the second film, where shoes aren't fitting correctly, and that made me laugh every time they mentioned that. So yes, I understand what you're saying. Like the fantasy or supernatural aspect is unclear in the first two, but there's a hint at it. And then
on the third one is that it goes all out.
Yeah,
it's like whatever. Okay. It's like about this.
We're not in reality anymore.
Yeah. I felt that it was more of a playful exercise from Yorgos about like, hey, look, I just don't want to commit myself to just have to develop like these scripts into a full-fledged story, but I want to do like something as weird and random as I used to do before The Favorite got huge, and then I was like just trying to be like a tiny bit more mainstream. And you said it is like The Lobster is more mainstream than Dogtooth, but also at the same time is still like pretty surreal.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's know more about the timeline about when things were produced and came out, but it's almost like I talk about this with you with Gus Van Sant when he had the success with the film that oh my gosh,
Elephant?
no, the film that won all the Oscars. That how do you like them apples? Good Will Hunting. So he had
Oh god,
all
that's
this
right.
commercial and award success, and then he like reverted to the super minimal film. The next thing he did, called Jerry, where he made two people walk around a desert for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It almost felt like
Not two
that.
people. It was not two people, it was Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, no?
Not Ben Affleck. What's the younger brother?
Oh, Casey Affleck?
Casey Affleck. It was Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. So I can see it's almost like he got all this attention from The Favorite. Probably a studio came and said, "Here's a ton of money. Do whatever you want." He just happened to have a lot of award success with Poor Things, and he made exactly the thing that he wanted to make. That's my theory about this film.
Yeah.
That being said, I would prefer he stays a little bit more mainstream. For me, The Lobster, The Favorite, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and even Poor Things to an extent are kind of the zone where I'm like, okay, my tastes align with this guy's super weird style.
I my only problem with Kind of Kindness is that you cannot develop this to its full potential. It's a bit more of a sample. It's almost like if you open like a box of sweets, and it's like you have like this assortment of hey, each one of the flavors is that it's going to be weird. I enjoyed all of them. At no point I was like truly bored. I left like okay, that was fine.
You
Is
said
it?
you
But
were never truly bored?
I was not truly bored
I
at
was.
any of them.
I was like,
Okay.
okay, let's wrap this up, man.
With
Show me the
second
scene
one,
where
it
Emma
was-
Stone dances. That's what I want to see.
That is on the trailer. No spoiler.
Yep.
No spoiler is on the trailer. But I was not bored. But I also left like a bit of exactly when you buy like this when you eat these candies. That is like this has been a bit more empty calories because you cannot develop this into a full-fledged cake that I want to get my face in.
So to reverse engineer one of our questions, would you turn this into into a short? Because we saw three shorts, would you
Yeah.
turn these three shorts into a feature-length film?
And I think that the answer is yes for the first and the third one.
Yeah, I can see that. Although,
The second one is like I'm not sure.
if he had a great punchline to that joke in the second film, I would love to see how the shoes feature like into the resolution of that story.
Dude, that doesn't matter. Yeah, I think that that it's not really like an spoiler alert, but I think that the second one had more aspirational goals. We will talk about it offline when we are not recording, but I feel like it doesn't land. The other two, I feel it's like okay, they land to some extent. The second one, I feel is like I can get something. I can get like some ideas about like what do you want to land here, but it doesn't work. Maybe with an hour and a half or 2 hours, it would have landed. It would have turned into something different, you know, or maybe not.
I
But
agree with you, but
with what you give me,
what's a pity about the second film is that there are so many interesting films that have done just this thing about a loved one leaves, comes back, and there's this
Yeah.
question, are they real? I mean, Solaris, right? Like, there's so much to explore, and he just didn't do it. So, I don't know. I felt like I feel like all three had promise, but none of them reached their ambitions, and I was frankly bored, and I was glad you told me to pick a comfortable theater before I went to see it, because it's not an easy viewing.
dude, I'm so surprised because maybe this is a bit more about expectations. Because like the idea that I want is that I only saw like the scores about like in Rotten Tomatoes they leave it whatever and in I think that in Metacritic is a 64 or something like that, and I was like, well, this is going to be a controversial film, but I walk with the idea of the main problem here is going to be the format. Is that there is so much that you can do with take three stories. And three stories that they are like non-connected in any kind of way. Because if we think about Chunking Express, that they are like two stories from Wong Kar-wai. No,
Or
they are
Tokyo.
two stories. Or Tokyo.
I mean, I know
they are
that's
like
three different
stories.
directors, but it still lands way better than this film.
Yeah, but I think that also those shorts they are like 30 minutes each, and I think that Michel Gondry didn't have like any aspirations. It was a bit more about like this woman turns into a chair. Deal with it. I don't need to give you
But
more.
still, it was more entertaining than any of the three films in Kinds of Kindness.
I don't agree. I mean, for you maybe, dude, but it's like, I honestly was like, I'm having a good time. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but it's like for me, it's not that it resonated and it changed my life, but it gave me like that sample dose size of a product that I love. That it has its limitations and it runs out, but for the most part, it's like a pocket value version of the full experience.
I just feel like if we're continuing to compare this to Tokyo, I was at least entertained by Tokyo. Even if they weren't great films, I struggled to be entertained by this film. And what's worse is that I didn't pick up any message or theme or metaphor. I mean, you did a great job in the synopsis saying this is the struggle that we watch, this is what we're supposed to consider, and you're right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't interesting enough for me to think about those things or to be entertained by them.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm surprised. I'm not disagreeing or anything. I walk away with a smile on my face about like this didn't feel like 2 hours and 45 minutes. The only reason why I realized that it was this long is because the second one dragged a bit for me, and because the structure itself is that when you are done like with the second one, you think it's like, oh my god, there is still 1 more hour of this or 50 minutes. How come? But I feel like with how probably like the third one is like the best is like I just felt okay, this flew over. I like it. I like a lot like the scenes on the third one with what is his name? Crap. Like the one from The Leftovers, Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, in the third act. Yep.
Yeah, on the third I felt like, oh, this is pretty good. And I feel what I was telling you is a bit more of a playful exercise from Yorgos Lanthimos about like, why do I have to choose? I can just do a non-fully developed story and just like putting three of them out there. And then I feel like probably he convinced the actors from the perspective of you're going to be like playing completely different characters, like from one of the segments to another.
But I mean, from an actor's perspective, I'm not an actor, but I would see this as a super fun challenge. Like,
Yeah.
this is supposed to be cohesive,
It's
but
a
it's
tour
going to
de
be three
force for
different
them.
characters. Yeah. I can see
Yeah.
Emma Stone being like, going to get, like, my fourth Oscar from this.
Is fourth or third?
I think it's
well,
third,
doesn't
but
matter.
it doesn't matter now.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, I understand why Jesse Plemons like won the award at Cannes. Is that because he's like his role is a centerpiece in each one of the stories, and
And
the
he's
character that
good.
he plays, he's good. It's like he's pretty nuanced. You know, it's not about like going all out in each one of the stories. Because even in the second one, I think that he's the most interesting part about like going from having emotional problems when the wife is away and then having other type of problems. Emotional problems.
I love to hear him desperate with Willem Dafoe. I'm gaining weight. Don't worry.
Yeah, the first one. And then it's like when I think about Civil War, and I think it's like, holy shit, this is the same actor.
Yeah,
That did
he's
that
really
role.
good. At some point, I'm actually going to watch the show you...
The Friday Night Lights.
No. The remake of the Coen Brothers film. Jesus, I
Oh,
can't...
Fargo.
Fargo,
He's pretty
yeah.
good. Yeah, he's really good on that one with Kirsten Dunst. Yeah.
Like,
That's
not to
pretty-
push us forward, but I'm honestly so curious to hear your answers to the questions.
Oh, let's do it. Let's go to the questions because it's that the problem is I don't think that we can talk much more about it. I think that is like from a direction perspective, it's functional.
I
like
think the
it's
direction
fine,
is
it's his
strong.
style.
I think it's the writing that's the it's the problem for me. I know it's
The
subjective.
structure. Yeah. Okay. Well, not only the structure, as you said, is like Tokyo is enjoyable for you. This is not.
Yep.
Yeah. For me, like the direction was like solid. You know, like just like what I can expect like from Yorgos is like it's not that different like from other. I mean, I think that it's more mature than from Doctor. But you can still see that it's, hey, you know, you're going to have like the fish eye from time to time because you now are in love with it, you know? And it has become like your thing, but he actually does it in a very more like subtle way. And I think that he's solid into just making this surreal from the real world.
Yeah, I agree. Like having one foot in reality and one foot in whatever is going on
Whatever
in
the fuck
Yorgos'
is.
head.
So let's just cover the questions. Would you watch Kind of Kindness again?
Yes, it wasn't my favorite film, but I think there's enough there that I would want to rewatch it at least one more time to see if I can pick up anything more that I didn't the first time.
Because when would you rewatch it?
Honestly, in 6 months, we're going to the Canary Islands together. I will watch it on that plane trip so we can talk about it on the beach.
I'll be down. Yeah, okay. That's a good idea. I could watch it like in a couple of months. Honestly, like, as for me, it wasn't work. Maybe it's like after a second review, as a second viewing, I'm more on the bucket of it was enough. But right now, I'm more of okay. Yeah, this was good. This was enjoyable. I think that I could watch it again. I could quote unquote endure it for almost 3 hours again, and I would have a good time. Would you recommend Kind of Kindness?
No, I'm not saying it's a bad film at all, but I can't
Yeah.
imagine a conversation where I'm like, "Did you see Kinds of Kindness? You should."
Yeah, I'm going to go with no. I may have liked it from our conversation a bit more than you did, but as I said, is that this is a collection of sample value, sort of like value samples of Yorgos that I feel like you can get the full experience. So if someone asks me, would you watch it? It's like, if they should watch it, it's like, yeah, sure, why not? But otherwise, it's like, if someone asks me about like Yorgos or movies, I would recommend Dogtooth, The Favorite, The Lobster, before recommending this.
Yep, I agree. And if somebody asked me, "Hey, what's a series of 3 short films I should watch?" I would say Tokyo. So,
Tokyo.
yep.
Okay. Would you remember Kind of Kindness?
No. I knew the answer for this question from the time we started recording. I will forget every single storyline. There was nothing exceptional besides maybe Hunter Schafer. But no.
What role does he play?
She's in the third act. She's in the very first scene of the third act where the 2 cult members are. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's her. Okay, I didn't realize. I'm going to go with no, too. I think that is like if someone gives me like a hint about like, hey, the first one was about X, I may remember some stuff, but I don't think that if someone asks me like in a year,
Yep.
like point blank about like tell me all the stories, is like there were
It's exactly like the Alps. I remember nothing about the Alps, and I remember
I tried to
everything
remember.
about the
Yeah,
favorite and the lobster, so no.
Yep, I remember like mostly everything about Dogtooth, but it's true that I also watched it twice. But it's the Alps. I only remember not liking it. And that's it. I was about to just check a summary about like why didn't I like this? It's like, I know that it was like pretty weird and disrespectful. I remember it's like, yeah, you're crossing a line here.
Was it the one about like
But I don't-
paying people to grieve for like
Yeah,
dead
something about
family
that.
members, something like that? You see, we remember
I think
nothing about that film.
I think that I was even like just mixing it up with the idiots because I was thinking that they were getting paid to pretend that they had a mental challenge.
No, The Idiots is completely memorable. 100%. Don't lie to me. You can remember that final scene with every detail.
That's true. The final scene is pretty hard to remove. There are like 2 things that I won't forget in my life. That one I seen from Benny's video. And that final scene from the idiots.
And Nymphomaniac Part 2 about the whoring bed.
But it's part 1.
Oh, it is?
I think so.
Well, let's rewatch it just to check.
No, I'm good. Thank you. Is there anything artistic about it? About Kind of Kindness, not Nymphomaniac.
Yeah, I mean, I think the performances are uniformly amazing. I think the direction is exceptional. My problem was just with the writing, but yeah, I mean, this is Again, I don't think it's a bad film. You can walk into the theater and be like, this is somebody who knows what he's doing, clearly. I just don't like what he's doing. So yes, there is something artistic about it.
What a way of putting it, is that you may be doing something right, but it's still not right.
But that's only the comments on me. It's not about like the quality of the movie. It's just this is not to my taste.
I understand it. It's similar to what we were discussing about like Chimera. There is that the elements may be good, but it's that these elements don't work for me. For me, I would go that definitely the acting is top notch. Is that just I was impressed about like, hey, these folks like a step into this. Is that maybe I don't know if it was a bit more on a similar to Wes Anderson kind of, hey, we're going to have a blast working together. But I think that they step more with the idea of this is going to be a trip.
Just side note, have you ever seen a film that Jesse Plemons starred in? I think this is the first thing that I've seen where he's... I mean, I know Emma Stone is there, and she's obviously a co-star, but he basically led this film, and I can't think of another film where he's the lead.
Yeah, in The Power of the Dog, it was Benedict Cumberbatch, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big role, but he was not the lead in...
Yeah. No, I think that you may be right. This may be like the first one that he's... Because even like in the first and the second story, he has like way much more screen time than Emma Stone. And on the third story, it's like it may be Emma Stone like the one that has more screen time. Well, definitely it's Emma Stone like the one that has the more screen time.
But in the second, I would say it's him as well. So in the first and second acts, it's him, and then third is her.
Yeah. So yeah. If I had to choose like only one, is definitely Jesse Plemons is the main character here. But yeah, let's go back to the questions. Is this a timeless piece?
Yes.
I like that it's like,
no,
you're doubtful.
I mean, I didn't like the film that much. I'm going to dislike it the same amount in 20 years, I think. But I will still also feel that there's strong aspects to this film. So I don't think that's going to change over time, no.
Yeah, we will talk about another movie like some other time. Is that I think that there is nothing here that forces you to apply the... Well, if I remove like when it was shot... I think that this is the perspective that they are looking at these topics. Is that no, the topics are completely independent from time. It doesn't try to be like just like lock on anything right now, and the direction is like so strong that I don't think that it's going to be aging poorly. It's going to be like maybe you can say that it's like from this time more or less, but nothing that is cringy. Would you turn any of these stories into a TV show?
Honestly, yes. And I don't answer yes to this question very often, but I feel like... have you seen In Treatment?
Yeah, the first season only.
So, you know that, like, that...
the structure.
The structure, I think if they were to turn all three of these into, like, a feature length, maybe 8-10 episodes... for each storyline, I think I would be super into it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that that the third one even like reminded me a bit to The Leftovers.
I didn't see it, remember?
You're going to hell. I'm so tired of recommending you stuff that I know that if you have the patience, you will love it, and you're not watching it. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I will say yes. I had the feeling that all of these stories could have been developed more.
Yep.
And just like, as you said, it's like maybe like a creative way of developing like the three of them at the same time. I don't know. There may be like a way of also doing that. Just pick one and just develop that one. That's it. But what we're saying is like, could this movie have been a short? Is it maybe...
I think we have to flip-flop this.
Yeah, let's just flip it and just say, it's like, hey, do you think that these three movies, these three shorts, could have been a standalone movie?
I'm going to say yes to 2 of the 3. I don't have any
Correct.
interest in exploring 2 more, besides the joke that they have throughout. I thought that was hilarious. So yes, my answer is yes.
My answer is exactly the same. It's like I don't think that the second one deserves to be more developed. There is like something, and the other thing that I find, well, I'm not going to say this that we can maybe consider like a bit of a spoiler, but the second one, as you were saying earlier, I don't think that there is anything too unique to the premise to actually get something interesting from here. With the other 2, I had the feeling that developing more like the struggles that they are facing and the characters that they are involved on the story, it can land like pretty solid stories, pretty solid movies, like full feature movies.
Yep.
Do you think that Kind of Kindness could have been better?
Again, my only major complaint here is the writing. I felt like it could have been tighter. It could have given us a little bit more resolution, and I know that's like blasphemy to ask for, but I needed a little bit more from the script for me to feel satisfied. So yes, the writing could have been better.
I'm going to go with no. I acknowledge and accept like the point that you are doing. For me, as I was walking in, and maybe it's once again like expectations, as I was walking with the idea of, hey, this is a crazy experiment that he's doing, as long as I'm entertained in the process, I take it as it was good. And I was entertained, and I actually got like pretty good performances. Like
So
in the
you felt like
process.
it was similar to like 28 Days Later.
But without hurting my soul. Yes.
All right.
So
Great.
yeah, for me, it's like, I'm not saying that it's perfect. Don't get me wrong, but it's like I think that it's like I couldn't change anything. Is that the script maybe could have been a bit better on the second story. Like change the premise, throw it away. We may have had only like 2 hours of a movie or 90 minutes, only with the first and the third one. I don't know. But overall, I was like, I'll allow it. The second story, I will allow it because there are a couple of things that I will tell you later that I found okay on the second one. Cool. So, should we score it?
We should. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
No, I can go. I can go first. My score is going to be a 7. From from the perspective that I was entertained, I don't think that this is perfect, but it's like I was entertained beyond what I would think that it would be like an okay film. And being entertained with 2 hours 45 minutes, it has like a lot of merit for me. For my experience, my personal experience.
So I made that face because I started out this conversation thinking I would rate it 6.5, and then I bumped it up to a 7. And I know our scales are a little bit different. For me, a 7.5 is like a solid good film, so this is a little bit less than that, but I do think there's enough artistic merit to give this a 7. I mean, it's worth watching. You just may not like it. But some of the best films are like that, right? You watch films you don't like, and you're like, I don't like funny games, but I think everyone should watch funny games.
Well, I wouldn't say that everyone should watch it. That's not a movie
Not your parents.
to us recommend it. No. It's a movie that you have to be... It's similar to Benny's Video or almost any movie by Haneke. Is that I'm always careful of who do I recommend them to.
Yeah, no, I don't recommend Michael Haneke films to anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from this perspective, I agree with you. It's like if I were on your scale, maybe I would have scored like a 7.5. On mine, a 7 is like, this is good. It's like a, like pretty...
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's a worthy movie. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Okay. Anything else that we should say about Kind of Kindness?
The trailer was more entertaining. Just watch the trailer.
And even more confusing because when you start like just piecing, then I was trying to say, it's like, wait, what was this? When is this happening? Oh my god! Is that now I understand the context of this, or there was no fucking contest?
There's a song.
You just deal with this as thing.
There's a song in the trailer called "Brand New Bitch" by Cobra, and my husband and I listen to it on all of our trips to brunch and on our way back, and we sing in the car.
That's cute. All right. So I think that we should close.
All right.
We should close up. To everyone out there, thank you so much for putting up with us. Hopefully you find it interesting.
And join us next week to find out what you should or shouldn't watch.
Bye.